All right, everybody. We're about a little minute late, but we are live. We're going to let some folks get on here and introduce everybody. John and Patrick and Shiloh, they're live from Pickwick Lake up in Florence, Alabama. They are pre-fishing for the Alabama Crappie Masters. We're going to let a few folks get on here. Then we're going to go over one of our sponsors, and then we're going to get into it. We got 4 people on here, about 10. I'm going to make a commercial, guys. I hope everybody's doing great this evening. We got our 10. Let's go with it. Let's see. CrappieKast is sponsored by CT Ward Power Sports in Camden, Alabama. They have Excel Bay Pros, center consoles, side consoles, hurricane deck boats, Godfrey pontoons. Man, they've got a load of them. You see right here, they've got a yard full of boats. Y'all get down there and see old Taylor and Jessica Ward. They'll take care of you, get you in one of these boats, all your electronics, your Mercury, Yamaha, certified dealer. They can service your boats and all. Man, I really appreciate them coming on board and sponsoring the show. Thank y'all again. All right, guys. Y'all know John, and that's Patrick Stone right there in the center. And that's Shiloh Chappelle right there on the end. They are pre-fishing, like I said, at Pickwick. Getting ready for the Alabama Crappie Masters. Y'all doing all right this evening?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I heard y'all had a fine dinner. Let's talk about that dinner because I just got through eating too. Let's talk about that.
I'll start off.
Yeah, go ahead, John.
I just met Patrick last night, and he came in and was talking about cooking supper tonight, and he said, "I'm gonna cook some rabbit," and I was already excited about cook some rabbit, but I'm gonna let him tell you what he did. I've never had it like this before. Absolutely.
Yeah, please. Hey, just cause I'm all about eating some food. No, I know it's a CrappieKast, but I'm about some food too. Go ahead. Talk about it.
Just something I did rabbit probably 5-6 years ago, and I ain't never eat it any other way since.
Okay.
One day we were processing some deer and had some rabbits that we'd shot the day before, and we got done with the deer and started on the rabbits and got them done, and I deboned them because I've been deboning rabbits back legs for years and eating them. But we had a cuber out, so we ran through a cuber.
Okay.
And you get a cubed rabbit through that cuber and fry it. You talking about good. You ain't gonna ever eat one.
Never thought about that.
It's good. It's good.
So you're just running through a cuber like you would cube steak and then fry it.
Yep, the back legs. Now, you can do it with the back straps on the rabbit as well, but I don't share those. It's only that
I understand, guys. How's fishing been up there? How's fishing been, John? Y'all been up there a couple of days. I know you have. I don't know how long Patrick Shiloh's been there.
Oh, you want to go first?
Yeah,
go ahead.
We got here last night. I've got a little bit of experience here. We fished here. What was it? September.
End of October, 1st September, somewhere around in there.
Yeah, and so we've got a little bit of experience, know what we're looking for. So
right.
I didn't feel like we needed a whole lot of time. So
that's awesome. So y'all basically long rod guys, right, Shiloh? Is that what y'all use? That's y'all's weapon of choice.
That's generally what I use an X15. Probably, what would you say, 90% of the time?
Yeah.
The last couple times, I keep digging in the rod locker for a 7-footer though, and I don't like it one bit.
Hey, he'll grab that 7-footer if he thinks that's gonna give him fish.
I understand. Hey, it's what you get. It's what you get comfortable with for sure. I mean, no doubt about it.
I'm definitely more comfortable with that long ride, so that's what we use mostly today. And I mean, I've got 7-footer out in case I need it, but I don't feel like it's needed right now.
Right.
We're not spooky, so you're taking
the X15, the Jinko, of course, and putting in what size weights you usually running on top of that, Shiloh?
I used to run a quarter a lot, and now I'm running a half ounce down to a 32nd or even an 1/8 ounce jig.
Got you. Depends on the wind current. What determines that?
It's just getting to them fast, really.
I got you.
Nowadays, these fish like to run, so I just try to keep up with them. That half ounce weight gets down to them quick. And a lot of guys know me for a hair jig fisherman, and that's typically what I've got on there. Probably 90% of the times a Pop's hair jig. So.
Gotcha. So you're tying a hand tie below. What size weights you normally use below your half ounce or quarter ounce weight?
32nd ounce.
Oh, you're using a 32nd. So
Yeah, a little bit.
There's been some talk, of people saying that it doesn't take a lot of effort for that crappie to suck in that bait. Is that what you're noticing?
Yeah, and that 30-second helps out a lot. And still, if we get short strikes, I'll go down to the 64th. And I've got some that are even smaller than that if they get real finicky, that they can just suck that bait in real good.
Especially blackfish.
Yes.
So Live Scope's brought all this on where you can actually study exactly what's going on. You can see.
Exactly. Florida, we know we won the USA down in Florida.
Right.
St. John's, and we put on a 64th, and we used that, I think, all 7 days we were down there.
We did.
And y'all won the Crappie USA down there, right?
Yeah, on the St. John's.
Yeah, that was earlier this year. When was that? Back in February? When was it?
Second weekend of January.
Second weekend of January, yeah. Y'all had some weight, too. What kind of weight did y'all have, Charlotte?
3150, somewhere around there.
Yeah. I think we had a little over 16 one day and 15 and a half the first
that's
day.
Awesome. What was your big fish? I know there's some giants down there on St. John.
We only weigh, our big fish was only like a 230.
Y'all just had a bunch of twins, huh?
It's our day 2. That's all we had. It was the same fish. Everybody was wondering why we didn't weigh a big fish. I just knew we didn't have big fish beat, and we had nothing but 230s and 240s in the boat.
I think we had a 255 the first day, and we weighed the wrong fish when we weighed our big fish. So that's
awesome. Yeah, if anybody doesn't keep up with these guys, Patrick Stone and Shiloh Chappelle, they're on Facebook, man. I'm sure they got their own fishing pages also. They're great fishermen. I mean, these people, they bring a lot to the table. I mean, just, you get a lot of tips from these guys, and that's what we do this show for, because you can pick up something from everybody. It doesn't matter from the amateur to these guys that fish, on all these national trails. I appreciate y'all being on here, guys.
You're always learning. I mean, we're both still learning today. You always learn something new out there on the water.
You're exactly right, man. We're going to get in some questions. We're about 7 minutes in. I just want to introduce everybody, and there'll be some questions come in, and we'll let everybody, go over. Like I said, I appreciate y'all being on here. As soon as we get a few questions, I'll post them up here and go over them.
Shane,
go ahead, John.
We took a thorough beating today. The wind was whooping. We were riding the waves, but you could
describe what's going on, John, when you know what you're doing there. Because a lot of people don't know you're up there trying to pre-fish. So,
without giving away where we're at, we'll just say that it can get kind of rough in this area,
right?
And you got the Tennessee River. It can be a beast. Well, you get some wind on it. I mean, today where they said it was 12, I'm thinking 15.
20.
Yeah,
every bit.
She was pumping. She was pumping today.
White cap,
and like trolling motor coming out of the water, transducer coming out of the water type scenario. And if you get in those shallower areas, that just compounds that even more.
Right.
So when you're here pre-fishing, you want to cover everything you can cover, and we just took a little bit of the beat. We're around each other today, so we both know what we dealt with.
It's not often I take waves over the front of the boat. I think I ate 3 of them today.
That's crazy. They just build up in that wind. Let's see. Somebody's got a question about what size hooks you using on those 30 seconds of 64 shallows? What size hooks are you using?
I run a number 4 3-time strong salmon hook. I get those from Guthrie Jigs, and then I just have them shipped to Pop's Jigs. He ties on them for me and sends them to me.
You're running a salmon head, a steel head. Like I said, you're running that's a pretty heavy hook, right?
It is a heavy hook, and
Short. Gosh, they're short.
They are. I mean, but so what I've realized is all those steelhead salmon hooks, they've actually bend in just a little bit. So you got to take a pair of pliers and bend them out.
Open it up a little bit. Because you're.
But when I stick a fish, I don't want to lose it due to a bent hook. That's
right.
That's where I'm at nowadays, and we're catching 2.5 pound fish, and they're named paper mouths for a reason. You want to stick them good. So.
That's right, and hopefully you get in the meat of their mouth. But like you said, these wire hooks, man, with that long rod, you can put some pressure on that fish. You don't want that hook opening up,
exactly.
And you're losing the fish.
And that's why I like that number 4. I played around with the number 6 a little bit, and it was just a little too small. I was just skin hooking them. Right. And that number 4, I feel like I can get it in the meat. And then the number 2 was just a touch too big for the hair jig, the size of hair jig I like to use.
Right. Let's see. Here's a great question, guys. One of y'all could take this. This guy, Flip Bush, wants to know, can y'all give a breakdown of how you approach a fishing an impounded river system? Like the Alabama River, you fish the main channel versus creeks, time of year, current, just kind of, I guess we can really go over this time of year because, here we are, pre-spawn, some spawn. How do y'all approach like a river system that's, dammed?
I'll let you start.
Yeah, go ahead, buddy.
I've never been on the Alabama River, so I'm still curious.
You're in for a treat. Go ahead, John, and explain how you approach it, man.
It's eating me up. I want to get down there bad.
Come on down. You come on down this.
Well,
this
you did the best at this because you've never been there.
Yeah, if I was going to go down there and break it down, I would. It depends on current. If there wasn't a lot of current, they weren't pulling a lot of water, I'd be. I'd definitely be checking.
Yeah, the ghost just opened the door of the cabin.
Yeah. If there wasn't a lot of current, I'd definitely be checking the main river first, checking sloughs, just anything to break that current where the fish can sit behind it. Natural stumps on the breaks. And then if there was current, I would start getting into those sloughs, looking for, this time of year, I'm going to be checking for 3 to 5 foot of water and deep holes back in, in the backs of those sloughs, trying to find those fish in those deep holes staged up, ready to spawn. So,
yeah,
that's what I was looking
for. That's exactly what I'm doing down there, Shiloh. That's what I'm,
Yeah. You get those creeks, and it may be a challenge to get in them, but once you get over that first break line, and you're getting probably 7-8 foot of water, and you can still idle through there pretty easy.
Oh yeah.
And you're gonna look for those deeper bends where those fish could stage up, and those channel bends. So,
and, that's kind of what my gut tells me. This time of year, I'm gonna look for them running up those creeks.
Right.
They're
staging up, or some of them doing their thing. You're exactly right.
Yeah. Whether they're gonna be at the mouth of that creek or they're gonna be on back it. That's how I would approach it. I would start at the mouth of the river and work back, or go to the back of the creek and work out. One of the two.
There you go. Yeah, I hope that helps you flip a little bit. Like I said, everybody approaches it different, but let the fish tell you where they are. If you start catching good fish, they're not there by accident. They know what they're doing. So
yeah, especially deep holes next to spawning flats. You got flats with stumps on them. You get on those deep holes there's going to be fish there somewhere.
That's exactly right. Let's see. Jason Cap's got a good question. After the warmer weather we've had, and now that this cold snap, how's it going to affect the fish? Will they position different, pull back a little deeper? What do you think these little cold days and nights have kind of done to the fish?
From what we've seen, they're still staged up. I haven't seen any fish shallower than really 10 foot still. I know last week on Gunnersville that the fish were still out in 15 to 25 foot of water. They're just suspended 10 to 12 foot deep.
But now I will say that's relative to where you are.
Yes.
I came from South Alabama here.
Right.
And the water temperature here at the end of the day is 55 degrees. It's not that now.
It's like Grenada last week.
Yeah.
Tuesday afternoon at Grenada, the water temp was, what'd you see, 70? 69, 70, 71. By Friday, when you left, what was it up the side?
Yeah, it was still up there, but
Yeah, I think it was 58 Saturday afternoon at the end of the tournament at Grenada. So it dropped, but we were still catching fish in 2 to 3 foot of water trying to spawn.
So, right. I don't think they're going to, once their eggs are developed and they got to let them go, they're not going to back up that much.
No.
They may hunker down the bottom. They're not going to go backwards,
They can't. If they're laying eggs already, they got to drop them. So
I agree with that. Like I said, wherever they are, they're going to be where they are. 100%
and right
agree.
now, we're in that stage right now where, like John said, he's from Southern Alabama. Those fish are trying to spawn. Gunnersville, they're thinking about it, but they're just not there yet. So we're riding that line between full-blown spawn and still pre-spawn fish.
I caught female Sunday down by my house that were done. They had laid out.
Yeah.
But I'm dealing with a whole lot different scenario than up here on the Tennessee line.
Tennessee River.
Yeah.
I still think they got 2-3 weeks maybe.
Absolutely.
Before they even think about it.
Yeah, you're. It's probably 2 or 3 weeks, but like everybody says, they're all not going to spawn at the same time. But the first wave up there where you are, no, they haven't went up at all. So y'all still 2 weeks behind or so.
That first wave here still, unless we get some warmer nighttime temperatures in the mid 50s, they're not even thinking about it yet. Whereas the first wave in some areas they're already done. Like Grenada,
Yeah, just like Grenada. Yeah. a lot of
Yeah,
those
we-
fish.
Yeah,
caught a
I seen people catching fish and eggs are running out of them. I mean, it was crazy.
eggs were running out. Fish were, we caught some fish that had already laid eggs. It was a mess. You had fish doing just about everything. Some that were already moving out to deeper water to set up for post spawn, and it's just kind of all over the place right now.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah. Let's see. This is such an odd question. It's not an odd question. You just get it. Live scope kind of myth these things. Does the water temp have to be around 62 to spawn? I mean, I'm so, I don't know what y'all's opinion on it now. I mean, I don't even know because it's been 62 for a while around here. So I think it's a timing thing with the moon. What do you guys think?
I think it's a lot of length of the day.
Yeah.
I do too. Daylight hours and it's just like when the trees bud and the fish do the same thing. It's got
Right.
its way of working it out, and
Right.
it knows when it's time.
Right. I mean, those eggs develop, they got to develop like, everybody we were saying on the last show, they can't lay them. Then they're it's just like the rut in the deer. It doesn't matter if it gets cold. It's going to happen when it happens. It's the same way with those crappie.
Yep.
Over in Grenada, every dogwood in the woods was blooming.
Oh yeah.
And
Now
they-
they're dropping leaves. Some dogwoods are.
Yeah.
I don't know if any of y'all ever fished Tim Ford's in Tennessee? Bill Bush is asking. I don't even know where that is.
No.
Never seen it.
I guess he's out there. That's probably a deep reservoir, I'm sure. I mean, it can't be much different where you guys are fishing now. I mean, he's not that much further. I wouldn't think.
I don't even know what waterway it's on.
I have no idea.
I don't know, Bill. We'll have to do some checking into that, Bill. Like I said, I'm not sure. I have never fished up that way. I haven't fished up that way. Let's see if I missed any questions. Let's see.
I'd definitely love to try it.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, I see them catching those big blacks up there. Makes me want to run up there for sure.
I'm mad at all of them.
Yeah, exactly. You got to be mad at them.
Man, it's a deep. He said it's 70. He said it's 70 foot deep, 20 feet all right off the bank. So you talking about it's a deep reservoir. So
That's probably got to be like Eastern Tennessee. I think that's
Right.
where it's at. But maybe close to Watts Bar, maybe.
maybe so. I would imagine it's in that general area. I guess he's on vacation up there.
I mean, that's similar to Del Hollow, 70 foot deep.
Oh yeah.
We were fishing. We were there in October. What, November?
November.
Fishing. I think the deepest fish I caught over a 5-day stretch was 62 foot deep. Over
Jeez.
probably 100 foot of water.
Wow.
It's some of the
Jeez.
deepest fish we do, but probably some of the biggest black-nosed magnolia fish you'll ever catch.
Yeah,
Talk-
I remember
talk
seeing
about-
those.
Talk about some of the stuff you did to find fish in that deep.
Yeah,
water.
yeah. While we're on this subject, yeah. What did you do? This is going to be equivalent to where he's fishing.
Just old school 2D sonar. That's what I rolled around with. Just that, and I mean, I ran my 2D sonar under my side scan, and I spent a lot of idle time. I think I idled every day for at least 8 hours, just looking for stumps on the break line, on secondary points, and anything that stuck out towards the river channel. And we just put a lot of time in looking for those natural stumps along the river channel and casting at those fish 70 feet because it's so clear. I mean, you can see 8-9 foot in some areas.
Wow.
Pat?
Oh, at least.
At least.
I was thinking 10 to 12, but
Yeah, I mean,
it's just crazy clear.
and the hard part was keep fish alive.
That's what I was going to say.
Gosh.
Finding an area that you could catch them shallow enough to keep them alive.
Yeah, I mean, our first morning we had a pile that I don't think anybody else in the tournament found it, but we rolled up to it. It was stacked full, pound and a half to 180 fish. Our first 4 fish in the boat were all over 170,
Good.
and they were dead in 20 minutes but they come out of 40 foot down over 60 foot of water.
Man, that's Del Hollow, right? Isn't that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
That tournament y'all fished
Yeah.
a while back in the fall?
Yeah, it was still a heck of a fishery, but it definitely, after that first day, we decided to try to stay within 30 foot of water for the next, at least until close to weigh-in time. When we stayed in 30 foot till 1 o'clock, then went and fished deep and caught 2 big ones and reined away in as fast as we could so they wouldn't die on us. Just one of those you pray, fizzle them and
Oh
pray.
yeah, that's I can't imagine dealing with fish caught that deep, man. Ugh.
It's tough. And they got
I
their
bet
air
it-
blast throat and their eyes are popping out.
Oh yeah, I'm
It's
coming. And I guess you're bringing them up slow, Shiloh. You and Patrick, y'all just bringing them up real slow, or you just?
I tried bringing them up slow. I tried bringing them up fast. It just didn't matter. They were going to die.
Yeah.
It just the only thing that I heard from a guide after the tournament, he said the only thing you could do is when they're coming up from that deep, that water's so cold, and that surface temperature is so much warmer, is to actually start off your day with a bag of ice.
Okay.
And it actually regulate that water temp. He said that's because they're just getting such a big temperature shock in your live well that they're dying.
I didn't think about that. Okay. I was thinking it was, an oxygen thing, but you're saying it's a temperature regulating thing.
Yeah, I didn't think about it either. Because, I mean, I tried running oxygen on my live well just to see if it made a difference, and it didn't. So, if you think about it, you bring it up, he's 40 foot deep and 70 foot of water, and he's probably not getting any sunlight down there, so it's probably ice cold, and you put them in 45-degree live well water, they're getting a 15-degree temperature change in a matter of minutes.
That's a good tip right there. That's a good tip for people. That is, I didn't realize, I didn't even think anything about that. In the summer, everybody's trying to cool the water down, and you're cooling the water down to get it equated to where they just came from. So,
yeah, I didn't think about it either until after the tournament. Now, I mean, I want to go back and try it just to see if it does.
Yeah, I mean, heck, that's some sensibility to it. No kidding.
Yeah.
Let's see what Chuck's asking here. What's the best way to set up a 2-jig system on one pole? Does anybody still do that anymore? Y'all guys still do that? Tie 2 jigs above, 1 jig above each other? Y'all do that?
Ain't much anybody uses 2 jigs anymore, but that don't mean they won't work. I mean, I still think they'd work. I don't even know why I quit using them.
Yeah, I mean,
used to be all I throws 2 jigs.
Right. A lot of your trollers were doing that, and a lot of your single polers that used to go up to a stump, they tied a loop knot, then a polymer, and they jig through the water column way before live scope. So, but most people, Chuck, I guess, are tying a loop knot on their top one, or 2 polymers, and then they're running. I don't know what do you think the gap will be between those 2 jigs, guys?
Probably 12 to 18 inches.
Yeah, I was gonna say about a foot. Yeah,
but we can be so accurate now, just bringing it right over what we want to.
Right, with the live scope. Right.
I think that 2 jig was trying to trying to cover more water. When we were doing it, in my mind.
Right.
Now, I mean, you think about how many jigs you lose compared to what you used to lose. It's
I mean, I every now and then I'll go back to running double jigs, but a lot of that's when I'm fishing schooling fish. Fish that are active, so you're trying to get that big fish to come out and bite. I still think 2 chances better than 1, but that's schooling fish. And when you're picking out singles, I'm just running 1.
Last time I did, I was trying to catch skipjack.
Exactly. I mean, exactly.
Yeah. Yes, they use the Saviki rigs, catching them skipjacks down here. It's a pretty good question. I've ran into this before when I first got started. Crappie Rain saying, "Hey, fellas, I went from a 9 to a 12-inch Garmin, and fish look like eaters at 40 feet. But when they get closer, they're little dinks." I ran into this. I'm not laughing at you, Rain. Crappie Wayne, because I've done this, buddy. What's y'all's advice on that, how to set your live scope up where you don't run into that?
Learn your grid lines and follow them.
Let's say you just went through that.
Learn to trust the grid lines.
Right.
And what
you're
that
saying,
fish
you
looks
put your Patrick, you put yours on like a certain depth and you leave it even when you're closing it in. That way you can size the fish.
Yeah, now that'll vary a little bit. Mostly I'll run it 40 foot out, either 15 foot deep or 20 foot deep. Now, if I'm fishing 7 foot of water, I'm probably gonna run 15 foot deep just because I'm used to it.
That's me too.
I like to tell people this though. Once you identify that's a big fish and you got your eye on him, you can manipulate that string however you want to.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I know this is a big fish. You're keeping that string the same to identify that big fish. But once you get zeroed in on him, stay on him. And if you feel good about bringing it up and down and in, do all that,
Right.
But identify the big fish first.
Right. Well, without sounding like a smart butt, when you catch a big fish, you know what a big fish looks like. Then you remember that in your brain. Like, oh, that's what a big crappie looks like. Because that's what was told to me. So, when I was like, well, I'm casting all these fish and these carp and these spoonbills, and I'm thinking everything's a crappie. And the guy was like, "Have you caught a crappie?" Well, you don't know what one looks like till you catch one. He wasn't being a smart butt, but he's telling the truth. You learn, what size crappie you're catching. You guys know, y'all stare at that screen as much as I do, I'm sure.
A lot of that's time on the water.
It is.
Oh, yes.
you're getting familiar with what you're seeing. Like today, Pat, we'd seen a fish today out at 35 foot in front of us, and I knew within 2 seconds it was a carp. And he's like, "You think that's a carp or a crappie?" And I'm already moving on, and I told him it was a carp because I could see the fork tail already. And
Oh yeah.
top 10. So
As long as if they're against some structure, if they're against some vertical structure, they're suspect to me till I can get a good angle and see their tail. You know, I'm like, oh, never mind. That's
And sometimes when they're sitting on vertical structure like timber or stumps or whatever, stakes, you got to pitch at them because every now and then.
Hey, it's free. I mean, I tell clients when I'm guiding, I'm like, throw at that fish. Like, you sure it's a crappie? It doesn't matter. Scare it. You know, you're going to get more accurate. It's just practice. You're not going to hurt nothing.
Some of the biggest crappie I've caught, I thought they were carp. You know,
I'm guilty of that too.
You're like, oh my gosh, what do we got
I'm guilty
here?
of that too. They run out and they come out and you're like, hold on just a second. And then they sit down on that jig. You're like, well, I thought wrong because even if this carper come up and knows your bait a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. Brian's got a question here. Y'all probably not fishing too clear water, but you got any color suggestions for fishing in really clear water? I mean, what do you guys normally do when you got, like you was talking about Dale Hollow? What are you doing in that clear water?
So at Dale Hollow, they have a different bait fish. You said it was an alewife? Alewife. So my partner and I, once we found out what it looked like, they live deep. We actually pulled one out of a fish's throat, and it had a purple tint to it. So I knew I had some baits in the boat that were that monkey milk color, the shad color, like everybody likes to use.
Right.
But this one had a purple tint to it, and after we figured that out, every fish we casted at ate. Just because it matched the hatch pretty much. But
there you go.
Clear water, if they're bigger fish, they're wanting to eat a bigger bait, that 1.5 to 2 inch baby shads or, Jinko mermaids, whatever you want in that dirty milk or that monkey milk color. Now, if they're real finicky, I'll still downsize to that 32nd ounce hair jig and a gray ghost or something just to give them that smaller presentation.
Gotcha. Yeah, if you can match the hatch, guys, that's the best thing to do. Even any kind of fishing you're doing, bass fishing or crappie fishing or whatever. Like you said, y'all caught some of those alewives you caught and you knew what color they were, and you just tried to match it. Then it was a no-brainer.
Yeah, that goes back. Well, did you fish the mega bucks on Kentucky 3 years ago when they had the mayfly hatch?
No, I wasn't near that.
Yeah, so describe that, Shiloh. That's a good. We deal with that a lot in Alabama. We have several hatches. Go into that story.
So about 3 years ago on the Mega Bucks Kentucky Barkley, it was, I think, the second weekend of May. They've had it there for the last 3 years. We got down and right away we noticed on the boat was a bunch of 1.5 inch long mayflies. So we immediately went down to a small brown jig that just looked like a bug, and every fish you would drop on ate. And they would be coughing up mayflies as they were coming up. So that was a big match there. Just just a straight brown jig.
I ran into that where I fished at some backwaters last June. I went in there and if you look in the bushes, they're just loaded. And I went to throwing up there shallow, and those crappie were swatting at my bait. I mean, I went 2 foot deep. We ended up catching a ton, doing the same thing. Like I said, but if you had a brown colored, like you said, something you don't normally throw, but that time of year in the early summer, that's a good tip right there.
That's definitely something you got to watch for. And like you said, 2 foot, in the summer, you would be thinking you're out there in 10, 12, 14 foot of water. But if those bugs are up there hatching, they're going to be, taking advantage of that, eating as much as they can.
Oh yeah. You got to pay attention to that stuff. Let's see.
I'll tell you another thing about a fly hatch like that. At home we have them a lot. Like last year, we had 7 mayfly hatches.
Yeah,
it's the most I've ever seen on our lake. Well, those bugs gonna be attracted to those lights on those piers. Yeah. At night.
I haven't got to see that yet, but I can't wait.
You can drop it a dry fly or something when they're doing it. But anyway, so during the day they'll back off those docks, and if there's any structure out from that dock, you can go out there and fish it during the day. Those fish will be there because they're waiting for that nighttime when those bugs come back up to that light, and and they're going to come back and feed on those bugs, the flies.
And that goes for everything though, even bass. I mean, was it cicadas?
Oh yeah.
All that vibration they put out. I mean, bass will come up and smoke those too. So when you see that going on, it can be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, like I said, you got that coming up early summer. You know, we have it here in May and June, and like John said, you have it several times. Those crappie eat a lot more insects than what people realize, for sure. It's a great question right here. This is for all you guys. When you guys are fishing standing timber or stumps, how close do you get to the stumps when it's clear water versus stained? What do you think scares a crappie the most? Trolling motor, boat? What do you think?
Well, you get as close to them as fish will let you get. That's what I'll tell you.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Amen.
The biggest thing that scares fish is when you stomp in that boat.
Yeah.
You know, I've had fish get up under the boat, and Shiloh told me this, and I never believed it. But I've had them get up under a boat where I couldn't get the rod to them, and stomp on the boat and go chase that fish down and catch it because he'd run.
I've done it here lately, and hey, believe it or not, I heard Hayden talk about it. You're talking about it now. I had some clients miss a stick of fish, and the drag came out, and the fish come off, and the fish went towards the timber, and then he took off, and I followed him. You can just vaguely see him flapping and gliding and flapping. And when he stopped, I threw and caught him. I was like, what in the world? You know, it's amazing to get to see that.
Hey, Shane, Shiloh's got a good story about scaring fish.
So
go ahead, Shiloh. Talk about while we're on that subject, man. Go ahead. These people love to hear stuff like that.
So back where I'm originally from, Central Illinois, Southern Illinois, we had some brush tops. I mean, just you couldn't get a jig through them no matter what you tried. And this lake in particular, it has giant hybrid crappie. I mean, just as big as you can imagine.
Right.
And they would get so tight in those tops. What we would do is we'd actually take 10 or 12 bricks with us, and we'd go out there to those tops, and we'd find one, and you could see it fluttering around in there, and we'd just toss those bricks. You know, toss a brick at that top, and those fish would scatter out from there, and then we'd chase them around in a circle until they went back in there, and then we'd throw another brick at them. And we'd catch 2-pounders doing that all day long. It was some of the wildest stuff, but there's no way you could have got a jig on.
Right. It's so thick, like you said, you can't get your jig in front of that. So y'all actually took a brick and threw it in the middle of the pile, scattered the fish, and then you caught them on the way back, or when they settled down, or when they what did you do?
As soon as we threw that brick and they scattered out, they wouldn't go far. I mean, it's cold water, 35, 36 degree water temps. So they'd run 15, 20 feet and then just stop. We'd go around it till we pretty much quit seeing fish, and we'd look back at the tree and see a dozen or so sitting there, and we'd throw another brick at it. And we had about 25 brush piles we were doing that to. And I mean, they were in 25, 30 foot of water. So I'm sure there's a pile of bricks laying at every one of them now.
Somebody come up to the brush piles like, there's a rock pile. Let's catch a fish off of it.
Exactly. But we had a lot of fun doing it. It was definitely neat. It was different. And
that's crazy, man.
But it worked, you know, stuff like that. And the water wasn't real clear. It was murky enough to where you could chase them down and get on top of them. So it was a lot of fun. It's different. Something you would never think of either.
No, that's crazy, man. That's a crazy story. I've heard some people stomp on the deck, and everybody tries to be quiet and all this stuff. And now, like you said, Live Scope's just knocking so many myths out. It's crazy. You're just like, fish won't go down, eat your jig.
Well, the other thing is you get some of that muddy water where fish just don't want to move off that timber. And I know Pat's seen me do it. I'll take that rod tip and actually go down there and I'll push that fish off the tree just to get him away from it, just to see if he'll actually react to bait once you can finally get the bait between him and the tree. But 9 times out of 10, they still won't when you push them off. It's almost like people say they don't sleep, but they're sleeping.
I heard somebody talk about it. I think Matthew Rogers a couple shows ago, he was thinking these fish that's just standing by that standing timber, just daydreaming, just resting, and because your jig goes over and you can see them do this little shimmy. You know what I'm talking about, and they're like, oh, it's like it wakes them up or something.
I mean, when they're doing that, John just asked me if I was doing it at the Red River. Yeah, them fish at the Red River were so stuck to them trees they wouldn't. A live shad would swim by and they wouldn't even flinch. I mean,
you actually take your rod tip in 5, 6, 7, 8 foot of water, and you're pushing those fish.
I'll push that fish if he won't react. Yeah, there's got to be something to make him move.
Golly, that's crazy, man. I've heard some crazy stuff, but hey, that's good information. What do you got to lose at that point if you can't get the fish to react?
Yeah, you don't know till you try. So you got to get them to move somehow, and sticking your rod tip down there and pushing them. You got to do that. They still won't eat. But
So you're going to move one way or another.
exactly. The next person isn't going to catch you because I'm going to run you off.
Right, exactly right. Let's see. I had a question. Somebody was talking about a jig here. Let's see. Carlton Todd's asking if you were in a tournament and could fish only one jig, what brand, size, body, color would you use? If you're fishing, so like Saturday, without giving any secrets away. Don't. I'm just saying that. What would you normally, if you just say this is all you can use? What would you do?
What I use, these two both looked at me and both said, I know exactly what you use. It's a 1/32 ounce hair jig called Pink Moon from Pop's Jigs.
There you go.
Got a pink salmonish colored body with a green tail. I used it. Let's see. I started using it 3 years ago, and I bet I've got 6 dozen in my boat. And every lake I go to, that's the first jig I use. And 9 times out of 10, I catch fish on it.
And you know what? Those jigs are so good. You can catch 100, 150 fish on them. You can't even tell you use it.
Well, Florida, St. John's, I used 1/64 ounce hair jig from him until it literally come unraveled and was falling apart, and I was still catching fish on it.
Yeah.
To the point, I sent him the picture, and he called me and said, "Send that back to me. I want to hang on to it for my boost that shows because it's." It was
awesome.
deep. I sent him the picture of it. He goes, "I don't even know what color that is." And I sent him the color, a regular one that wasn't beat up. He goes, "How did you get that to where it looks like that?" So when I told him, 7 days of catching black crappie on it, tore it up.
But they're angry too, buddy. Hey, what are you talking about? Them blackfish get angry.
Exactly, and like John just said, confidence is key. So
it is.
I've got 4 colors I'm confident in. If I start digging through and you see a bunch of crazy colored plastics on my boat, it's been a long day.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, I agree. If I look in the bottom of the boat and they're not the same color, all torn up, when you're using plastic, let's see. Yeah, I know y'all pull y'all's baits away from even with the long rod sometimes. Jason wants to know when you have a fish trailing your bait on live scope, is there any tips other than keep reeling? Do you see a fish chase more than one time? And what do y'all do if you're pulling that bait away? I mean, what is y'all's tips on that?
You mean as far as casting to a fish and
Right,
back?
casting rod. If you're taking your long rod, if you're instead of setting it on his nose, if you're pulling that bait, he starts,
Well, you gotta
vibrate. Go ahead.
Sometimes that fish will be following, and he'll follow. And I'll try to let him follow and eat it first.
Right.
I get a lot of them doing that, and they won't eat. Sometimes I'll just twist the tip and make that jig jump 2 inches. He thinks it's trying to get away, and he'll snatch it. Then there's another one that I've done sometimes where you got one following, you just stop, and it backs right up in that fish's face, and he don't know what to do but eat it. I've seen that work.
At that point, when you stop that rod, and I use 15-pound fluorocarbon, 14-pound fluorocarbon, that's going to give that jig enough hang time to make that fish either he's got to eat it or he's got to go to the bottom and spook. So, and I hate spooking big fish, but 9 times out of 10, I feel like he's just going to open his mouth and eat it rather than run away from it because he's already shown interest. So
yeah, he's already coming to it, and that jig stops and just kind of goes in his mouth.
So,
right. I mean, there's so many different scenarios, man. Them fish do something crazy all the time.
Hey, I got a good scenario though. If let's just say Shiloh and Pat's fishing together, and Shiloh pops a wood to one, and it short strikes. That fish is looking for that bait after he does that. Everybody thinks that I don't get that fish to eat again. If you can put a bait back on that fish that's doing that spin around, look for that bait after he's done hit at it, he's fixing to eat.
Well, I'll let Pat tell him what I did at White's in the USA. That 225 I caught. I hooked him, drug him 3 feet.
Oh yeah.
I was casting a 7-footer. I had a big fish out there. I hooked this fish and I drug him more than 3 feet, probably 10 foot. I actually fought him, and it popped. I must have had him skin hooked. I stayed on that fish, and I put another minnow on that jig head and cast it right back at him. He spun around and followed all the way to the boat and choked it. And 2 cranks of the reel, he was on the surface being netted. So as far as like when that fish was obviously still looking for something to eat. So he was still in that mindset that I'm hungry, and we gave him another shiner and he ate it. Other than that, to build on what Pat and you guys were saying about shaking it, dropping it in their face. Another thing I do and not many people see me do it, and Pat's seen me do it, is when I get that fish looking and say he's he's indexed, he's at that 45 looking at that bait, he just won't finish. I'll actually just take my offhand, just sit there and I'll just tap that rod as fast as I can. Just
so you're quivering that bait. You're just taking that bait and quivering it.
You'll actually hear the floor of smacking the rod, and it's just sending out vibrations and that usually triggers a bite or at least some short strike, something out of them. Maybe get a hook in them.
Right. Hey, that's good advice, man. Like you said, I see people doing that when they're reeling through a school chasing blackfish. I do it a lot.
That just goes to tell you though, if you got a fish and you got fish that are following and aren't hitting, don't be afraid to try anything.
Amen.
You may find something that works. I had some fish the other day. It wasn't casting to them, but it was a long rod, and they would just follow me all the way to the surface, and then they'd swim off. Well, I'd get them up to the surface, and finally on one, I shook that rod as hard as I could shake it. Like you would never think you'd shake it, and that fish ate. Well,
I've heard some rumors of some people shaking some rods pretty hard.
Yeah.
So but like you said, what do you got to lose? It is,
Right.
It may just be that day. Hey, these fish are just, I'm whipping my rod and then they're just nailing it. You don't have anything to lose at that point.
Yeah, and I just did it out of frustration because I went through like 10 feet.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then he hits it and scares the mess out of you. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's
awesome.
awesome.
But it worked, and that's, I figured that out at the end of the day, and every fish that I had, he would eat when I did that.
That's crazy. So that day, it was one of those things, let's see, we got a comment we're live on YouTube too. I've got it linked. Tommy Pye. So I just bought a Garmin 106 and it has the 32 transducer. You get it for $1,000 or $999 or the LV34 for $1,700. He wants to know the 34 worth the $700 difference. What do you guys think?
Depends on what kind of fishing you're going to do. Is he brand new to live scope?
I'm not sure if he is or not, to be honest with you.
Well, if he's brand new to it, I would tell him to go with the 32.
Okay.
If you get to know it better, then that's when that 34 will become more useful to you. Is when you know what you're doing better.
I got you. That's good advice. Like you said, if you're learning live scope, he's saying the 32, go with it and get good with it. And the 34 has a little bit narrower cone, correct? Isn't that what it is?
Yeah, I noticed it right off the bat. I've got two 34s on my boat.
Okay.
A little bit more narrow, and as far as distance, like seeing it running out, clear water, I was running at 100, 110 feet.
Right, I've heard that too.
Yeah, it's a little bit clearer doing that, but it's a little bit more narrow. So if I was a beginner with that 34, I'd have done threw it in the lake, literally.
Right, because it makes it tougher because you're not as dialed in with familiar with what you're looking at, and that's good.
It's hard to, that you got a narrow window to put that bait right in front of that fish.
Yeah, save that $700 right now. Hey, when they'll probably come out with another transducer in a year or two. You don't ever know. So
for longevity purposes, the 32 is going to be obsolete. So people need to realize you're not going to be able to just keep getting
that.
Right. He said he's brand new to it right here. He replied. He said, yes, he's brand new. That's his first unit. So they're giving you great advice going with the 32, Tommy.
And the 32 is going to work awesome. I know guys still on the elite trails, they're buying up as many 32s as they can because they like them so much.
I've heard that.
But no, I heard the other day, like you said, they're going obsolete. I heard a guy actually had to warranty his 32 and they sent him a 34.
That's right.
So the 34s they're going to be the new thing until, like you said, Shane, another year or two, they're going to come out with a 36 that it'll tell you if it's a crappie or not. So
yeah, so there's old Pat Slab's Guide Service. He comes in from Mississippi. He said he still uses the 32.
What's that?
That's old Fat Slab's Guide Service over in Mississippi. He said he still uses a 32. You know how much fishing he's doing.
Yeah, Richard.
What's up, Richard?
Yeah, Richard. I'm glad to see you on here, buddy. Thank you. We're gonna have to get him on the show. He's a fish catching son of a gun too, buddy.
He is a catching.
Yes, he is. He's a nice guy, man. I've early when I
go ahead, Shane.
Shallow?
Never follow him through the stump field though. You're bound to tear something up.
Oh, I followed him the other day on a race sport. I'm like, is this a good idea or not?
The first time I was at the Red River, I asked him, I said, "You know your way out of here?" We were like an hour and 10 minutes back into a slough. And he's like, "Yeah, just follow me." And oh my gosh, that is the bumpiest ride I've ever been on. I'm in a glass boat. He's just on pad running through them stumps like it was nothing.
Hey, he's been a nice guy to me. I messaged him several years back, and I bought a War Eagle like he runs, and man, he was just as nice. Replied to me. I mean, I appreciate good guys like that.
He's a heck of a fisherman.
He tried to act like he's gonna run over me the other day, and then I was like, "Well, after you play with him, I'm gonna follow you out." So
Exactly.
Yeah, he's a good guy. That's old Richard. Good guy. He owns Flat Slabs Guide Service. He's over in Grenada, Mississippi, guys. Y'all look him up on Facebook. I'm sure he's probably booked, but heck, you don't ever need. I'd check with him because it's fixing to be time to go hit it in the summer.
That summertime bite over there is probably
Man, it's awesome. I like it myself. Let's see.
Never been there in summer. I've been there early in the spring, late fall.
Yeah, I went a couple times last year and got humbled the first trip, and then I got a little better, and then I figured out what I was looking for. So I had some fun over there. Blake wants to know what's y'all's favorite lake or river system to fish tournaments on. What's y'all's best one? John, you go first, and then we'll go down the line.
I love the Coosa. I love Lay Lake. I love Neely Henry. Those are probably my two favorites. Just as far as me being comfortable and saying, "Hey, I'm just going to go catch some fish." And of course, I'm from South Alabama. I love the little lake I live on and the one that's above me. I won't say the name, but
since I've moved to Northeast Alabama, I really do like the Coosa, the upper end of it.
Okay.
Weiss and Neely Henry. Those two are probably my favorite right now. But other than that, if I had to choose one lake in the country, a lot of people would think Grenada or Fork. I'm going to say Millwood in Arkansas. That lake.
I seen Josh Jones today. I seen his post. He said he caught 200 fish today. I seen it earlier.
Millwood's unreal. Just the amount of 2 to 3 pound fish in that lake is just.
It's insane. Have either of y'all fished Fork?
No, I haven't.
I've heard
I haven't either. So that's in Millwood's in Arkansas, correct?
Yeah, southwest Arkansas, about I want to say it's 40 minutes north of Texarkana.
Okay.
Really nothing around it. It's nothing but a 6-foot bowl with hedge trees and man, fish.
What's your favorite?
What's your favorite, Patrick?
It had to be Grenada. I fished it last week, was it?
Yeah.
That was really the first time I fished. I mean, I fished it a long time ago back in spider rigging days and didn't do very well. But where else can you go in the country and fish a tournament, 2-day tournament, and weigh in 28 pounds and come in 41st place?
41st, he said. Jeez. You're right. You're like, man, I'm on them. Huh? Yeah, I mean, it's unreal. You're right.
My first day pre-fishing down at Grenada, I had 1840, and my partner looked at me and said, "I had that last year, and I was in 52nd place." And we both just sat there in the boat for a minute, like, where else in the country can you go and be disappointed catching 2.5 pound fish?
Yeah, and at that point, you just got to enjoy it, and do what you do.
It's just like hunting in Illinois or Iowa. I mean, you get over there and the fertile water and the way they drain the lake, the conditions to grow those huge fish, it's just prime. I mean, it's just.
All right, time out. We got a man here from that state that you just said. What is the correct pronunciation?
Illinois.
I've said it before too, Shane. Illinois.
You throw that S on the end of it. It's Illinois.
Illinois. I'm sorry. Hey, my best friend's from Illinois. He's from Evansville.
He's happy to be here. I heard you say it. I've said it before. I just wanted to clarify.
The S is silent. That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Patrick's from Indiana, and I hope I'm saying.
Yes, sir.
So.
Yeah, you can't mess that one up. So Chris Collins is saying Ross Burnett, the Rez, is the best kept secret in the South. I haven't never been there, so.
Ooh,
I've never seen it.
So I went there and I fished with Hayden there one day, and those are probably the healthiest fish I've ever seen anywhere. I mean, they look round like plates, like they're.
You ever been to St. John's?
Yeah.
That's on my bucket list, Shiloh. I've got it written on my refrigerator. Hey, St. John's, Lake Talcon. I've got all that written. I went to Talcon this January, but I'm going to St. John's next December, I hope.
Big.
Yeah, I think I literally caught a 288 that's probably only 15 inches long.
Wow.
I
know those are blacks. I'm telling you, the white, even the white cracker are like
footballs.
Mm-hmm.
Just no caps. Yeah.
Well, before we get off Grenada subject, Richard's saying in 21 he had 40 plus pounds. I only got fourth over in Grenada.
Yeah,
man.
It's unreal.
That just tells you the size of the fish, man.
Hey, Shane, we were pretty close last week when we were guessing weight.
Yeah, we were guessing weight. You said 39 pounds, and it was all over it. That's what Hayden had, I guess, right a little above it, didn't he?
And that a lot of people, they expected to see giant weights, but you got to look at the cycle on that lake. Prior to those 2 years that they had giant weights, they had 3 years of heavy flooding. So those fish were untouched. And those hatchlings that were there, that second year of flooding, that third year of flooding, those were all your giant fish the last 2 years that were being caught. And the females that laid that first year of those flood seasons. So it really needs some relief. High water springs to get it back to where it was.
Yeah, like you said, they had a couple of high waters. You're right. A couple of years there.
And one of the years, I know it pushed like 230 something on the water level, and even the bushes people were wading in, there was 15 foot of water over those. Wow. So those fish were really could have gone anywhere and spawned.
Shane, I got a quick question for these guys.
Go ahead, man.
All right, so this year I noticed we saw some really big male fish get caught out there. So
I've seen that.
I want to ask both of them this question. So I saw a 284 male being caught. How old do y'all think that fish is?
Every bit of 4 or 5 years.
At least.
A 284 male. I know Patrick South. If he watches it, he's gonna get a kick out of that. Patrick Stone from Mississippi. There, I know. Was it a week before the tournament or 2 weeks? Mm-hmm. One of his clients caught a 340 male.
Male, yeah.
I seen that. I did see that.
That's just
think about how old that fish is.
Yeah, he's been around the block. He's seen it. But I mean, a 340 male.
That's
where else? Where are you going to catch a fish like that?
They're not, man. Like I said, and I seen Eric and them caught. Man, there was a bunch of 240s and 2.5s and a bunch of big males caught.
Our big fish both days were males, and they were, I think, 260 apiece, Friday and Saturday.
That's
and
crazy.
Was unreal. I think our biggest fish all week was a male, and it was 280 something. So
that's awesome. Oh, Taylor Ward's got a question here. If you had to fish without live scope, what are your tactics after having experienced it? So basically, if I take you out there and turn your live scope off, how are you going to approach it, guys?
Depends on time of year, I guess. And what live scope showed me is there's more fish way out in open water. That tells me why guys pulling jigs done so well so many times, just because you could never find them any other way.
Right.
But if I didn't have live scope, I'd be spider rigging just like I did before I had live scope.
I'd be doing this. I'd be if I fish the lakes I fish now, shallow muddy lakes, I'm gonna put 6 poles or 8 poles wherever I can, as many poles as I can, and in the mud and push them around, in stumps, shallow flats near channel bends. I'm gonna fish the same water I'm fishing now, just probably shallower and a little bit slower.
Right, I understand that.
This time of year, if the water is warm enough, I'm taking a cork and I'm putting me a jig about a foot below it. I'm going down the bank like a bass fisherman. I'm not stopping much. And if I see that cork do anything different than sit like normal, I'm popping the wood to it.
Fishing riprap.
Where we are, it's just twigs or, we don't have as much riprap.
You just cover some water, exactly to hoping to find that depth of fish or some males staged up or some.
Just moving, and it,
right. I'm trying to catch up here.
Are we on the boat right now?
Mm-hmm. Sonny Mooney saying color gain or color limit. Do y'all use what do y'all? I know everybody uses color gain. What do y'all use any color limit at all?
I don't use any.
I don't use any limit.
I don't use any limit. I run my color gain up about 75-80%, and my regular anywhere from 55 to 65.
Yep.
Yeah,
About
that's
you,
same.
Pat? Yeah, about the same. That's where I'm set up too. I run a little.
Yeah.
If I run into some pollen, I've been running the color limit up just a little bit, but it helps a little bit. But I don't run much of it. It's on like 30.
That's a good thing you brought up the pollen. John, I know you seen it last week over at Grenada, and Pat, you've seen it.
Yeah.
The pollen over there in the afternoons was so bad. At one point, I had my color gain up to 80%, my regular gain up to like 76, just to pick those fish pollen that's in the water.
It was tough to see them. You don't get old like me and you can't see as well. It's hard to see them anyway.
Hey, I was the same way. I would find my bait on one of those grid lines, and I knew the fish was on that grid line. I just kept that same cadence because I'd lose my jig, and hopefully pop the fish.
The problem over at Grenada was when the fish is swimming away from you, you don't have the big profile of the fish. You're just looking, and that pollen's eating your picture up, and the fish is going away from you. You just got to keep your eye turned just right.
And you're catching a glimpse of them. You might get a
I'm
glimpse
not like you'll get a little transparent little view of the back of them. You can't get that side profile,
Then you're still trying to pick that out of pollen, which is already making everything fuzzy. So
it is. Hey, you're right, man. You got to.
You're running 1.6, 1.7, chasing the fish.
Sometimes over 2. Trying to stay with them. That puts the definition of chasing fish. And
Aaron Knight's on here. He's tuned in. He wants to know how much weight's it going to take Saturday, guys.
We trying to find out where Aaron is. We ain't seen him in 2 days.
He's probably hiding. Ain't no telling what that is.
Oh, yeah.
He's probably out there in the middle of Pickwick today, floating around.
Yeah. The middle of this.
You can bet he's catching fish, though. You can bet on that. That's awesome.
I can't wait for him to get me back after that picture I got of him.
Yeah, heck yeah. Somebody's asking, y'all, Shiloh, since this is without giving away too much of your stuff, because Shiloh's been catching a lot of big fish for several months. Ashley Montgomery Bryant wants to know, you got any tips for Weiss?
For Weiss, channel edge. Everybody wants to get up on them flats and run those flats, but the river channel edges is where I've been finding all them fish. And that's from Powerhouse all the way to Georgia, the state line area. I went playing back in January, mid-January, kind of right about the 1st of February. I went all the way up to the state line area and got some of them sloughs and ran those channel edges up there. And they're just the same fish that are up there down in the middle, the middle area. And same with Cowan, Spring, and 3 Mile. They're just past the causeway. A lot of people were trying to fish shallow in that 10 foot or less, and I was staying out there in 14 to 22 on the main breaks of the river, and that's where I catch most of my fish on Weiss.
That's good. Yeah, I've seen some of them fish. I mean, you were catching a 15-inch crappie, white fish.
Yeah.
If I recall right, I seen them.
And a lot of people, Weiss fish is blackfish dominant, but 10 Pentecost and we've had several days where we've had, during those tagging tournaments, we were bringing in 65, 70 whitefish.
Right.
They'd all be over 130, 140.
Right.
So it's got a healthy population of both. So I think the birds, the cormorants there, really have a lot to do with those fish.
Yeah. Hey, no kidding, man. I hope they open up the season on them things. Them things are horrible. They're bad up there.
I tell you what, 3 out of every 5 fish you can catch there are going to have some sort of war wound from a cormorant. But I've done a lot of watching on that lake. I bet, and I'm safe to say, I bet a lot of those fish there don't spawn shallow anymore just because they know they're going to get torn apart by birds.
I'll tell you, I've been noticing if I see them roosted in some timber, I don't even go in there because they say them things can dive 25 foot deep.
Oh, well, no problem. And they come in by the herds. It's crazy.
There's more there anywhere to me.
Yeah, there's the islands in Little River they're destroyed. There's no growth on them at all because it's just covered with birds all the time.
Maybe you need to shoot a couple of those and run them through the cube or feed them to your buddies and everybody be killed.
Hey, if it tastes like that rabbit did, I'm all in.
Hey, that's awesome too. Hey, that's awesome. I've never thought about running some rabbit through some a cuber, but you got my interest up with that for sure.
I can only imagine how that backstrap is.
Yeah.
I'm looking to see if we got any questions, if we missed any.
I like you, but I don't like you that much.
I'm gonna bring my own next time.
there's a good question. Hey guys, what's suggested the best fillet knife on the market right here? What do y'all think the best one is? Electric, I imagine he's saying.
I think 59 fish 2 weeks ago with a Bubba that was halfway charged.
Yeah.
You know, I've got one of those Mr. Twister just plug-in knives.
Oh, that's a bad boy.
Yeah.
I like it because it's
Torque.
fast.
And it's torque.
Yeah.
And
they've been out forever, and I've probably had mine 7-8 years, and
Right.
they cost $28.
Well, Shane, there's limits to everything you do. So
That's right.
I got one of those cordless Bubbas, and I went down there and was going to try to clean some saltwater fish with it, and got made fool out of. If you cleaning crappie or bass or some small stuff, that Bubba's fine. Don't take it down there unless it's no snapper with that big blade.
Oh, I know. I got a hold of one of them trigger, not a trigger fish.
Yeah.
Sheephead. Excuse me.
Yeah, don't even think about it. Now, I was cleaning fish with Kegel. It's been over a year now, and he had one of those newer Rapalas.
Yeah, that R12 is stout. That R12 is stout.
It's pretty turned up. He's wanting me to cut reel cages out with it, and I was kind of nervous. I thought I'm pretty bad about cutting myself.
I know. I seen Patrick Stone, the one from Mississippi. They were cleaning some when we was at Martin, and they ordered a different blade for that Rapala R12. I don't know what size blade it was. I know it didn't have. He ordered another blade for it. I know it wasn't the one that came with it.
Yeah, I can't use that Rapala for cutting reel cages out. I could probably be fine cutting the fillets off, but that thing's a little tuned up for me. I've been a cut myself.
Man, hey, we've had 70-something people on this show, guys. I appreciate y'all, man. We went an hour flies by fast, man.
It does. It sure
flies
does.
by, man. Hey, Shiloh and Patrick, y'all gave us some great information. People better start writing notes on that stuff, because we're blessed guys like yourself come on here and give little tidbits of how they catch a lot of fish, and you keep gaining a little information from each show. I appreciate it, man.
They don't have to write notes. They can just shoot me a message.
Yeah.
I'm an open.
Yeah. The good thing about crappie community, man, it's a sharing community. It's not a,
There ain't nothing to hide. I mean,
No.
I'm still learning every day, and what I'm learning, you may be doing.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part, is learning from somebody new about every week.
You're right, man.
Shiloh and I were sitting on the couch last night just talking, and I said, does your wife ever get mad about people calling you too much in the afternoon, asking you about fishing? And we're both in agreement, yeah. But, I mean, people helped us, so we want to help them.
That's the way I feel. Hey, man, as soon as we get off the show, I've got some messages to send back to people. And, hey, I'm an open book, too. If I don't have time to really do that, we don't need to be doing this kind of stuff, and I like sharing information also. I sure do, man. I appreciate y'all guys going to be on here. Y'all stay on here. We're going to end this broadcast. CrappieKast, Shiloh Chappelle, Patrick Stone, and John Fulmer. I appreciate y'all. Appreciate CT Ward Power Sports for being a sponsor. I'm going to do a video tomorrow and announce that giveaway winner of the guide trip with me. I'm going to do it tomorrow live. So, or I may make a video. I haven't made up my mind. I'm going to put them in a wheel and draw the winner. Appreciate you guys for being on here. Good luck to y'all, man. Y'all be careful out there on Pickwick, man. I hope y'all catch some fish, and I'll be in touch with y'all. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you for tuning in to CrappieKast. Stay on here, John.